Hi, this is Casio, and you're watching Purebred Reds Adelaide United Fan TV.
G'day guys, and welcome to the Purebred Reds Adelaide United Fan TV. I'm your host Ellis Gelios, and I have a special guest here with me today, Joseph Marciano, who I have known for a fair few years now as also a former Adelaide United staff member. We are here predominantly to preview the Western Sydney Wanderers game next Wednesday on Boxing Day. However, there's also a few other things that we're going to discuss as well, such as the Asian Cup and the question marks about the squad there that's been picked by the new coach Graham Arnold. First of all, Joe, welcome to you. You now work proudly for the Norwood Redlegs in the SANFL at not the Cooper Stadium that we'd love you to be at, but still a Cooper Stadium. Tell us a little bit about your time watching the A-League and your past involvement with Adelaide United, or as a supporter, however you want to word it. Tell us about yourself.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Ellis. I've been a big fan of football since I was young. Played a fair bit. Played for a little bit, about 17 years.
Yeah.
At a couple of clubs, and I've always been a big fan of the A-League and soccer in general. Did a bit of work experience at Adelaide United for a couple of years, and really enjoyed my time there. Loved covering a bit of their first team and a bit of their NPL team.
Yep.
And it was a great experience for me. And now I've moved on to Norwood Redlegs and a different type of football, but I just love being working in a sporting club, and great to be on the show.
Brilliant, mate. Really well said from you. Now, just before we get into the crux of things, no squads to announce. Sadly, they haven't put our squad out for the game because it's the A-League. Because there's no game until next Wednesday, so there's that weird little break in between Christmas, and so they feel like it's more appropriate for them to put the squad out separately to what all the other clubs have. So we can't bring you the squads today, but I say this doesn't really matter because we kind of can predict what the squad's going to be anyway, and it's not like there's any huge names that are going to be coming in that we're unaware of, because Baba Diawara is still out for a number of weeks, I am told. So we'll just quickly run through the stats. So Adelaide have won 8 times against the Western Sydney Wanderers throughout their history, whilst they've beaten us 5 times, and there's been 7 draws. We've scored 26 goals against them. Against us, they've scored 25. Now, getting into the key points segment, Joey.
Yep.
Both of these sides have been as inconsistent as one another.
Yeah.
So this makes this game very hard to predict. Who do you see coming out on top? And is it really the kind of game that you can see Adelaide bouncing back in? Or with all the negativity that's surrounded the loss against Melbourne City, how do you see this one panning out for Adelaide in particular?
Well, Ellis, I'm going to go on and say I'm a little bit unbiased towards the Wanderers. I think they've been actually playing some pretty good football.
Yeah.
And if you watched the Sydney derby last week, they were well on top for about 30 minutes in that game. And you probably think with 11 men, they go on and win that game.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, there wasn't like that. And they lost Janjetovic, had the red card, and they fought to a 3-1 loss. I think they've got a couple of very good players, and there'll be players that are really wanting to win. A couple of ex-Reds in that squad as well. With Adelaide, does missing a striker prove the difference? And I was at the Melbourne City game on the weekend. I thought Melbourne City played a very clever game against Adelaide. I thought their tactics was quite smart. You just thought that whatever Adelaide could do, Melbourne City were just matching him in all areas. However, in saying that, if Goodwin buries a 30th minute header, we could be talking about a different story. But look, it's a tough game. Both sides are going to be eager for the 3 points. I might sit on the fence on this one. I might go draw.
Yeah. Look, a good segue into just talking about that game. I don't want to go too much into detail about how bad it was, but for me, having not really missed a home game in a very long period of time, I can't remember us playing that badly at Cooper Stadium. When I say badly, chance creation was high, but the end product was really, really horrific, and the mistakes that were produced by players that you wouldn't normally believe are capable of making such errors really put a dampener on the fact that there's a lot of belief that Adelaide should really, aside from the big guns like Perth and Melbourne, Adelaide should really be sort of outplaying most teams with the cattle that they've got. Not a good day overall though, I'm going to say, and a lot of people unhappy in the aftermath of the game. There's been question marks on various players. I've put one out on Ken Ilso. People think I'm targeting him unfairly, but I think, Joey, that as a creative midfielder and a visa player in particular, that he's just not doing anywhere near enough. And I think when you stacked up their midfield versus ours, like McGree versus Ken Ilso, there was a clear difference there in quality. And was that pretty much the reason why Melbourne City had it comfortable enough in the end of the day? Just a little bit more quality with who was available for both sides, even though Bruno Fornaroli technically is available for them, but they didn't pick him. Or was it just the fact that Adelaide kind of went out and lost this game by, just these mistakes, handing it to City,
Well, I think the intent from City was to come here and win. They weren't going to sit back, and I thought the way they played was a pretty safe brand. I thought Adelaide were just struggling to create chances in the front third. I mean, Halloran, you could see, was working, tirelessly all day.
Yeah.
But for me, I just think I'm a little bit opposite with you. I think Ken Ilso's still adjusting to A-League, so I might be a little bit harsh in copying it, but it's your opinion.
Yeah.
I'll probably think I'm a big fan of Jordan Elsey, but I think himself in his last month hasn't been up to standard for me, and maybe Kurtz has got to make a look for a change in defence. Other than that, I think, look, do we miss a striker? I'm not sure. I'm a little bit half-hearted on that one because we beat Brisbane and we beat Wellington. So I thought after the Wellington game, I thought Ken Ilso was going to come out and
I think a lot of us did.
Make a name for himself in the red shirt. Probably hasn't happened as what we expected. So look, I think to be honest with you, we've got to give credit to Melbourne City. They played a really good game.
Defended exceptionally well, didn't they? Particularly Bart Schenkerveld, just a rock.
Oh mate, Schenkerveld was excellent. And don't forget, they lost Richie Talat after half an hour as well, who's probably their best player in terms of in defence. So that was a really gallant effort. Probably not sold on Melbourne City. I still don't think they can win it. But I'm really impressed with that Lockie Wales up front.
Yeah, he's come super talent, really, just out of the Mariners Academy and. Anyway, he's gone really well for them. Good for him. Overall, not a great day at all for Adelaide United, and it doesn't look to be getting any easier because Western Sydney Wanderers are unpredictable and they do have some fantastic players, which we'll get onto in a little while. I just want to now bring you into this little bit of a fun fact, which is that if you don't know, Marco Kurz and Marcus Babbel used to work together at Hoffenheim. Kurz was the assistant, Babbel the head coach. Babbel got fired in 2013, and who succeeded him? Marco Kurz. So does this game, and that was in the Bundesliga, mind you. So weird to think, 5 years ago, they were both the head coaches of a Bundesliga club, and one that's in the UEFA Champions League, mind you, and now here they are coming head-to-head in the A-League. A little bit sort of not one that you'd expect, but anyhow, that history exists.
Very good.
Does this add some spice?
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
I think it's good for the A-League to have a little bit of spice between coaches. I think the A-League misses, I think people, that misconception of passion, and that's something that when Europeans come over to play our game, they've got a lot of it, they've got a lot of flair. So this would be, I'm telling you right now, both don't want to lose to each other, and I think it's going to be on from the get-go, and no doubt Kurtz will have his influence in saying what Babbel likes, and likewise with Babbel with Kurtz. So it's going to be a really interesting game. I'm really looking forward to it.
I think it's interesting how they'll both be able to sort of identify where one another has sort of strengthened with their knowledge since they were both working together, since it's been that 5-year gap. Also, they're such a similar mould, aren't they?
Sure.
You know, the passion and sometimes how it spills over. You can see there's small little differences between the way they do things, but in terms of like their characters, they're pretty much almost exactly the same, aren't they? So you feel like any contentious refereeing decision, you're going to get a bit of antics on the touchline.
Sure.
And that's been pretty much the theme for a long time with Michael Kerrs in the Adelaide United dugout. Adding to the interest surrounding this game is the fact that Bruce Kamau, Jordan O'Doherty, Tarek Elrich and Ruan Tonic all come back to Cooper's Stadium together since leaving. Now, Bruce Kamau scored a fantastic goal in the A-League Grand Final in 2016-17. Jordan O'Doherty, we never saw a huge amount from in the first team. We saw very good glimpses of how good he can be, but he probably left before he sort of peaked. Tarek Elrich did so much for Adelaide United, massive contributor to the club. And Ruan Tonic, probably a player we both know a lot more about than most. An absolute rock in the heart of Adelaide United youth team's defence in the last few years.
Well, a lot was talked about a comparison to the great Milan Ivanovic with Ruan Tonic.
That's huge.
That's an absolute statement in itself about a player.
Correct.
Who is, you know, somewhat like one of the greatest Australian defenders of all time.
Yeah, arguably the greatest. Yeah.
I mean, I'm staggering to me how he isn't probably getting a gig at the Wanderers. Probably went to the Wanderers looking for a gig.
Did play a few games early in the year. I don't know if Marcus Babbel was unhappy with the defensive performances or not and decided to drop him because of that. Coincidentally, Tarek Elrich is now playing at centre half. So yeah, that's interesting. But I think you're right. He's got a big ceiling, Ruan Tonic. Why do you think it didn't happen for him at City?
Well, it's a tough one. Well, they've got a lot of quality in Melbourne City, and I think Tonic has got the composure to play. Maybe it could be something to do with training form, or maybe the coach was a Warren Joyce last year. Wasn't a fan of him, in all honesty. So, I mean, I think he's definitely got the talent, and I've watched plenty of games with the youth team under Ange Costanzo and Michael Valkanis. He's just a great player, calm on the ball, a great defender, and for me, he should be playing at least for the Wanderers at either right back, squeeze him into a centre back possibly, but it's up to Babbel with that.
So you think like maybe because he's still relatively inexperienced that it would be better to use him as a fullback just so that people can cover for him when he does make the odd error? Well,
in saying that, you probably need to start him at a centre-back role to let him time to flourish. If you get what I mean, I think Thomas Deng isn't a real player that he's a centre-back, and you've got to start him maybe a few times for him. I've known Muscat's thrown Thomas Deng in at ample times, either against Wellington, when they've had a lot of players. I think we're forgetting when, obviously, the A-League didn't have an international break. Deng was the next one in for Milligan, who couldn't play centre-back. So, I mean, and Ansell was injured as well. So, I think a couple of those blokes allowed him to come in, but I think you've got to predominantly start him in that centre back role and let him flourish.
Out of the four, given that we don't really know where the careers of Jordan O'Doherty and Tonic will spike, Tarek Elrich is on the wrong side of 30. Bruce Kamau's the one I'm unhappy to have lost. I remember watching him a lot in the youth team as well, and I knew that he was always a prodigious talent. And he's now, this is his breakout year now. He's starting week in, week out for the Wanderers. One of their most influential and most important players, no question about it. Is this one that we've really got to be sort of kicking ourselves about to let him move on? Yeah,
Bruce is I know Bruce for a few years now. I went to school with him, and he's always been a fantastic kid, and he's always had a lot of talent. And I think he's probably the one that we would like to have back. But at the end of the day, I mean, it is what it is. He was at Melbourne City and found a spot at the Wanderers. So look, at the end of the day, it's someone we're kicking ourselves about, Ellis. But at the end of the day, I mean, you can't do much about it. We're going to hopefully, what we've got at the moment, I think is good enough. So look, without Bruce, I think we'll be okay. But look, maybe he comes back in a couple of years. We'll see.
Well said, mate. Moving into just a look at the opposition, Alexander Baumjohann, the German midfielder that Marcus Babbel's brought into the Wanderers, has been an absolute revelation in the A-League this season.
Big fan.
He can almost do anything. He's great going forward. Loves a little Maradona spin to get himself out of a 2 or 3 man challenge. And is really good with his defensive side of his game as well. Is he really sort of one of the players that's going to make a difference on a day like Wednesday next week? Do you think we can manage to sort of make sure that we shut him out early on, or do you see this kind of player providing what the Wanderers need to at least come and get a point?
Well, when I was watching the Sydney Derby on Saturday, I actually saw him playing in a more sitting role.
Mm-hmm.
And mind you, he was clearly probably the best on ground in the first 30 minutes, set up the goal with his set piece. Yeah, I think he's one that you've got to keep an eye on.
Yeah.
A very good player technically. I think Isaias is going to have to really make close attention to him.
Yeah.
But I think he's one that you've got to look for. But they've got a couple of those players like Sotirio going forward and Riera and O'Doherty, mind you, will come in and play a role as well.
Sotirio, just on him, he gets a lot of stick from his own fans.
Yeah, I've noticed that as well. Yeah, he's one that I think
he's a bundle of energy, but just end product.
Yeah,
he's a bit of a Miller's niche,
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, good point.
Anyway, pushing right along. So, interesting thing about both these teams, and one thing that I really have highlighted when analysing both of them and the seasons they've both had so far, is the home ground effect. We can't really win at ours consistently, and they don't have one. Now, is this like quite... does this capture your attention seeing this? Because, usually before they had their stadium crisis, and in, the season we won the championship and prior to then, our home form's always been probably our biggest asset.
Yeah.
And these days, I think because the counter-attacking style that Marco Kurza's brought, we're almost much more of an assured thing to win away from home than what we are as opposed to winning at home. And obviously for them, is it a big effect that they don't have a stadium at the moment?
Oh, it's a tough one. Not really, because I think, look, without a doubt, their supporters are probably the best supporter base in the league.
I'd have to agree.
And when they were playing at Pertec Stadium, what was it called?
Yeah.
That was just a hostile place, and they really played that ground really well. That was under Tony Popovich, obviously. But I think their start. I still think the Wanderers are playing well, and I don't think them not having a home ground makes too much of a difference. They played a couple. I'm sorry, referring back. They played the Brisbane Roar, I think it was around 2 or 3, and I thought they were excellent. I forgot the venue actually they played at, but it was just a normal sized ground.
Yeah.
I think it might have been in the suburbs maybe. And they played the Brisbane off the park.
Yeah.
So I think it doesn't really matter.
That game was actually in a small country town, which the name escapes me, but that was when Jamie Young got racially abused.
Yes,
Anyway, carry on.
Yeah, sorry. So I think it doesn't really matter. It's a bit weird sometimes that they're playing at Spotless Stadium where the Giants play, but I mean that's not a real big difference. So it probably doesn't make that much of a difference, to be honest.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm going to ask you now, do Adelaide need to focus more on signing a new number 10 in January as opposed to what everyone's saying about getting a new striker in, or and therefore rely on the strikers that they have getting fit and bring in that link-up player that's probably lacking at the moment? Or do you go about it the way that most fans are sort of saying, which is the priority has to be signing a new striker? Whether that means letting Kenny also just blend in a bit more, giving him more time, or perhaps using someone else in that role. I'm not particularly sure, but the priority being getting the striker. Is that how you see it?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, for me, I'm a dead set on the striker. I think Kenny also can play as a number 10 for us. I think he's shown a little bit. again, it's hard with imports because you're not too sure of how quick they're going to adjust. Now, to be fair to Kenny, so he's no Honda, so he's not going to come in and make an immediate impact. I think the right time of the year, and if he also gets fit, he had a bit of an injury concern towards the end of the FFA Cup. So if he gets fit, and we saw when we saw him against Wellington, he was superb. So look, I think personally he should be playing as a number 10, and we really focus on bringing in number 9 in January.
He's a visa player, so you can't. But then the interesting thing is when he's had Mirko Boland, he wasn't picking also. And Mirko Boland's on number 10.
No.
So it's just interesting to me why this player was brought in, Ken Ilso, on a visa package. And, it doesn't seem off the bat as though he's in the preferred 11 when everyone's fit. So I don't know, it's just something to think about. Western Sydney Wanderers, if they win, puts them level on points with us. Now, given the way they started, the Wanderers couldn't really buy a win in the first few rounds. They were struggling performance-wise, particularly against Sydney FC. Is it a bit of a shock to see that all of a sudden, like when you rewind a few weeks back, we just won the FA Cup, we smashed the Mariners in the league. It all looked pretty good. Now, if we lose this game next Wednesday, we're level on points with the Wanderers all of a sudden.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a concern, to be honest. I think Adelaide, they need a win. And they probably haven't been consistent enough over 90 minutes. I thought we played okay against Brisbane. Taggart hits the post early, but that's a different story. Again, but I thought we played pretty well.
I wouldn't disagree with that.
I thought we played okay. Wellington, we played pretty well. We started off a bit sluggish, and then came out and played some pretty good football. So for me, I think it's a tough one, but Adelaide a little bit concerning just because I think the striker issue, and for me they were playing a different. I'm pretty sure in round 1 I saw Ryan Strain.
Playing further
as a right winger, and we had a striker then. So he's been squeezed out of the lineup as well for Moroni. So that's a bit of a change that I'm not too sure about. It's a little bit of concern, but Adelaide have got plenty of time to rectify this, and I think it'll be a tough game. But if they gear up and they'll get a striker back, surely they'll be okay. So if Blackwood comes back, of course.
Which
it's a chance.
I'm told maybe soon. Now, Konstantopoulos in Falia. What are your thoughts?
100%. I'm a big fan of Nathan Konstantopoulos, and watching him in the youth league a couple of years ago, this guy here was a cut above the rest, to be honest. And although I probably don't like Konstantopoulos in the defensive role, in the sitting role, I think you need to play him as a number 10.
Okay.
Also maybe. Not sure Boland, obviously, I'm not sure how long he's still a while back, but I'm not sure who you sit with. Maybe play Isaiah sitting and then allow Konstantopoulos into a creative role. He's got a wicked touch, and I probably think that Kurtz needs to allow him a license to run at defenders, because his speed, his skills, and he can pick a pass, needs to be on show, because he's got so much talent, I reckon, that guy.
So you could either go Isaias and Leah sitting with Constant in the 10, or Constant as the number 8 box to box, with Ken also maintaining his spot in the lineup after a pretty non-existent performance last week. Which would suit him more? Because obviously you've seen a lot more of him playing in the youth league than a lot of other people would. He doesn't have that many A-League appearances.
No.
He does statistically, because he's gotten the last 5 minutes here and there. But in terms of 90-minute performances, a lot of fans wouldn't be familiar with what he's like as a player.
No.
So from what you've seen, having covered the youth team, probably when he was just starting to break through, on the cusp of being on that senior team roster, what would suit him more? Just give him a free roll, or the energy he has, which is to run from box to box?
No, I think I'll probably give him a free roll. I think you let Vinny Leah sit with Isaias. It gives him that freedom to go, right, I don't have to, I'm not saying don't have to defend, but you still need to work back, but probably giving him the ball around the area, let him take on players, let him pick a pass. And I'm telling you, and I know this is, I'm talking about big time, but I really saw him and probably taking on NPL players is a little bit different. But he was crucial in the boys winning the NPL.
Yeah.
Going in that season, and he
2015.
And he was crucial in their youth league games as well.
So it's NPL State League. That was
NPL State League and Youth League. So I think he's a terrific player, and he needs to. I personally think he needs to get in the park pretty quickly.
Yeah, very, very, very interesting insight. Now, and just on Constant before we move on, I'm a little bit worried because he's been in the senior team now for about 3 years, I think. And you feel like, I mean, he's got his own brother pushing him for a spot as well. I'm a bit worried that he sticks around if he keeps sort of being looked at as this squad player that gets 5 minutes, here and there.
Look, I think I agree 100%. He needs to really put his best foot forward and show to Kurtz that he's ready to play. And he's got that much talent that we'd be kicking ourselves if we let him go. Obviously, he played a bit of Brisbane, but he was only off the bench at Brisbane. So I think he needs to really push his claim and make that number 10 position his. I think he's got enough talent to do it. Just whether he applies himself enough at training and surely he'd be sick of himself just being a squad player and playing 5 and 10 and he scored a ripper goal against Melbourne Victory. I'm pretty sure in the FA Cup last year.
I think you're on the money.
So he
at Martin,
So he's got enough talent, just whether he wants to do it.
Have you seen much of his brother at all?
No, I haven't. No, I haven't seen much Christian.
Word on the street is that he's also extremely talented and possibly more so than Nathan. Is what I've heard from a few different people. Now, not really a question, more of a statement, but George Blackwood, I'm told, may be in the running to at least be on the bench. I think he did play youth league week just gone, just to get him physically back up to getting match hardened. Now, with George, we saw him at the start of the season used more on the wing, and I think that was to accommodate Bubba. But do you almost do what I think we should do, and that's just put all our trust in Blackwood. If we don't sign someone in January, put all our trust in Blackwood and rely on Bubba just as more of a luxury player, because Bubba, I don't think will stay injury free when he does come back. I think he'll continue to get hampered one way or the other. And I think given George broke his collarbone, that's a genuine, unlucky injury. It's not like, soft tissue and training and all that kind of stuff. Is George the man going forward and you just rely on him solely to score goals, or had he played exactly, do you continue to use him off the bench like he was before he got injured? How do you go about it?
Look, it's a tough one. So you're saying, should we sign another striker in January?
I'm saying if we don't, does George Blackwood become the main front man for us?
George becomes the man. He's the man that will hold the ball for us. I think his job is to score goals, but we haven't just had a target up there that can hold the ball, shield, bring
He arguably should be that player though.
And he should.
He has that kind of build.
He's got that size as well. But he isn't like that big of a player. He can make forward runs. In behind defences. So I think he's the man. I think Adelaide need to use him like that. But they can't really let him shoulder the whole load, and then they've got to really, the front third has got to really work with him.
And we've got to remember he's still quite young.
And he is quite young. So I think he is the man. But for me, I'm probably going to say, look, if we don't persist with him, but our main priority, I think, is a striker.
Well said. Asian Cup, quickly want to ask you about it. No Craig Goodwin or Isaias picked by Graham Arnold. Now, it's an interesting one. Is it good or bad? I think it's good, because January comes around and we've got our biggest load of matches to deal with. And so if you lose arguably the most consistent quality that we have, which is Isaias, our captain, and Craig Goodwin when he's in form, that's looking like it's going to be quite a task to get through all those games in January and be picking up points. The other end of it is that it was probably the last real opportunity that Isaias had He was cutting it fine without having that citizenship, obviously, but it was probably the last genuine chance he had to play for Australia, or at least in a meaningful competition. And as for Craig Goodwin, you feel for him because he started the season in such an emphatic way. There was Socceroos talk from pretty much everywhere across the country that Craig should be going to the Asian Cup. I understand in the last month his performances haven't been up to it, but what do you think?
Look, I think you pick an Asian Cup squad not in the first 4 weeks of the season. This is a well thought thing that's been looked at for 8 months or so. Goodwin probably, to be fair, wasn't playing enough last year for his club overseas. So, I mean, he gets a new lease of life. I don't think you can, no offence, but I don't think you can pick Goodwin based on the fact that he had a really good month and a half. I knew that he wasn't going to get played for Australia. It's going to be too hard. Controversial. It would have been controversial. It would have been picked up by the media and they would have slammed it.
But I mean,
be honest,
it's an Asian Cup, so you got to pick who the best players are that you have available, right?
I agree.
So if he was picked, and particularly that Aaron Moy's fitness is very questionable,
he'll be fine. Apparently, I'm hearing.
Well, I'm hearing he definitely won't be for the first game.
For sure.
So it's interesting, isn't it? And then Terry Antonis also didn't go.
Right.
I would have thought that Isaias would be a shout at least.
No. I don't think he was going to give him a chance. He hasn't played for the country before. Probably has been in any camps. Probably doesn't understand and probably won't understand Arnie's game style in 4 weeks' time.
That's a good point.
So he was just probably not... Look, nothing. He's an unbelievable player. If this had happened this time last year with the Asian Cup next year, he could have been a real chance. And then people would have said, you know what, you've got to give him a chance. But I don't think Arnie would have the guts to bring him in on such short notice to play in the Asian Cup. So for me, I thought that was always a given. Goodwin, well, he deserved a shout. Was in the camp last time, in Tim Cahill's last ever game for the Socceroos. So, look, I don't think he was a real chance as well. So for me, both of those exclusions to the Socceroos squad come no surprise to me.
Can't argue with any of that. Fair enough, Joey. Now, just moving into our key player segment. So our key player versus theirs. Who is it? For Adelaide?
You know what? At the moment, I'll probably say our key player is Ben Halloran.
Yep.
I think his work rate last week, you could see that.
It's always high.
Adelaide were very flat last week. Defensively, even, I'll be honest with you, Isaias wasn't even that that flash last week. But every time I saw Halloran, he was always pacing down the pitch, wanting to get involved. So he's our key player for us. For them, Balmiohan maybe, because he's got something to prove after getting pulled off last week. So he wasn't happy about that. So he'll come with a point to prove, and Babel will have as much faith in him to deliver them a result. So for me, Balmiohan and Halloran are the two to watch.
Fair enough. Final predictions?
So what did I say? I said draw at the start of the show.
I think you said 0-0, possibly.
I said draw. Look, it's a tough one because both sides are they're tracking similar. And Adelaide should be winning this game. But with no striker,
we actually don't have a great home record against Wanderers.
Well, and I remember Sirio's goal in the last time a couple of years ago when we won that game. So we can beat him here. I'm gonna go 1-1.
1-1
for me.
I never get my predictions right, so there's not much point making one, but I'm going to say 2-1 Adelaide because I've been saying lately that the opposition will win and sometimes that happens, so I'm going 2-1 Adelaide. Just as we wrap up, I just want to ask the questions. What do fans want us to discuss in special feature episodes during the festive period and the new year? Joe, it's been fantastic having you on. Just want to quickly give a shout out to where people can find the work that you do. So the Norwood Red Legs homepage is where you pretty much run the show there.
All of the webpage, EDM, emails, just all the media and comms, bit of marketing as well. So all that I control.
Brilliant, mate. Also, there's a new Red and Legends episode coming soon. Who follows Cassio into the studio this time round? That's a former Adelaide United legend sitting right beside me. Keep a lookout for that. Been fantastic having you on, Joey. Hopefully it won't be the last time that it happens.
Okay.
Hopefully we can continue this going forward. Yeah, been a great show. Put out a lot of opinions and information today.
Sure.
So
No, it's been good.
yeah, loved it, mate. Thanks all for watching, guys. Make sure you share the page and continue to spread the word. I've been your host, and thanks so much again for watching. We'll see you next time. Cheers, guys.